welcome to my channel. My name is Sharon, and this is a channel that is dedicated to all things related to narcissism. I make videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on all types of topics related to narcissism. So if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. I would really appreciate it if you gave the video a thumbs up. It's a free way you can help me out, and definitely don't forget to leave a comment because I like to read what you have to say. Recently, Joe and I were watching a documentary about birds. Yes, we do have a pretty exciting lifestyle, that's for sure. Well, there was this one bird and it laid a single egg in a different type of bird's nest. That nest was already full of eggs, and the adopted mother had no idea that this had happened. She sat in the eggs, took care of them, and waited patiently for them to hatch. She had no idea what was really going on or what was about to happen. The egg that wasn't hers hatched first. Have you ever seen a baby bird? They're so weak looking, barely able to hold their heads up. Pathetic in a cute way is probably the best way to describe them. So ugly they're cute. Well, this little bird proceeds to push all the other eggs out of the nest until only it remained. Only it was important. It demanded and made sure that it got all of the attention. Narcissists are like that. They demand, they force, they make sure that they are the center of attention. They are the most important. Only they matter. Many of us learn this the hard way because at first the narcissist isn't like that, or at least they hide that part from us. I began this channel because I woke up one day and realized to my horror that the life I really believed I was living, never existed. I mean, just somebody that doesn't understand narcissism, this sounds crazy, but I know many of you can understand this. The person I was married to wasn't a person. He was evil, a fraud, a cruel and disgusting creature, a creature. Many of you know what I mean. It takes time to wrap your head around it, the shock, the despair. I was confused for years. I couldn't understand why he acted how he did when I knew I couldn't keep it to myself. Now, I want to tell you, there is life after narcissism, but you can't live it until you really know what you're dealing with. And in today's video, I want to talk about how disgusted I am with the court system. If you are going through a divorce, if you are with an abuser, you believe that the court's going to be on your side. It's like if somebody was robbing my house and I called the police, I would expect the police would come and stand up for me, would protect me, would keep me safe. I thought the same thing when I left my ex. I left an abuser, somebody who abused me and abused my children. When I got out, and it was not easy to get out. So finally I get out and I think, all right, here I go. I'm on my way. The court's going to be on my side. The court's going to protect me and my children. No, they don't. The court doesn't protect you. They care about the abuser. The court has an agenda, and they're going to push that agenda, and you will find out that you don't matter. Your children don't matter. Imagine if I was a physician, but I didn't learn about illnesses that gravely affected my patients. Imagine I regularly ignored pertinent information because I prefer my view. Imagine I hurt children because I won't listen to the one parent who knows them, lives with them, loves them, cares for them, and knows them best. I wouldn't last long, I hope. Narcissists see their children as possessions that can be used to further their own agenda. And you better believe that they have an agenda. Part of learning about what narcissism is really understanding who a narcissist is. They want to hurt good people. You know, those people that can't be unhappy alone, the people who believe if I'm not happy, no one will be happy. Narcissists are those people, but they're malicious as well. They're not just selfish. They hate themselves and they hate you. They confuse us by playing nice at first. The truth is that all of it is a lie. And by the time we know the truth, we're so tangled up and confused. They're nice sometimes. Maybe they aren't that bad. Oh, they're that bad on a good day. My son, because he is a minor, is forced to have contact with his abuser. That's what's going on with the court system. If you left a narcissist, if you're planning to leave a narcissist and you have minor children, pay very close attention to this video. My abusive ex wants contact with his minor son. The court is listening to him over common sense, over what my son wants, over what I want, over what my lawyer says. It's BS. Before you even get going on your divorce, you need to take a parenting class because the state claims that they're so worried about how your children are handling the divorce. It's a joke. They tell you obvious things such as divorce is difficult on families. Divorce sometimes alienates children from one of the parents. Make sure your child's okay. I mean, as if you're a complete idiot and you don't know how to parent your own child, that you left your abusive ex or whatever because it's just fun and you feel like, I'm bored today, so I think I'm going to go ahead and go and get a divorce. It doesn't occur to the state that sometimes parents are bad people. Sometimes it's better for a child not to have, sometimes it's better for a parent not to have a relationship with their child. But the court protects abusers. Before I began my divorce, I asked my children what they wanted to do with their father. What type of relationship did they want? Both of them were adamant that they didn't want one. Naively, I told them I would respect that and that they didn't have to. My children have gone through so much over the last few years with their father. I believed that I was going to be able to protect them, that the court was going to protect them. That was not true. Keep this in mind if you're about to go through the divorce. I'm not saying don't get the divorce. Oh, I'm not saying that at all. But keep in mind what the court has the power and the willingness to do or not do. One of my children got their wish. They don't have to have anything to do with their father. The other didn't. My 18-year-old is safe because of her age. Technically, she's a legal adult, so she's out of the court range. She can stay safe. My son, though, is still a minor. During Joe's mediation, he was told, literally, this is what Joe was told, I quote, "A bad parent is better than no parent." What? How can a professional even say that? We are all doomed when the so-called ones in charge think that, and they do. A few weeks ago, I had my first mediation, and in that mediation, my ex was trying to insist on getting my son's phone number. His whole agenda was 2 hours was talking about my son. He has found a way. There's a vulnerability, there's a weak link, and it is that my son is a minor, and my ex is grabbing onto that with all the might and power that he can. My son told my ex in an email that he didn't want anything to do with him. Then that wasn't good enough. So he sent a video. And do you know how hard this was? At the time, my son's 15 years old and he has to sit there, be at his father's insistence, and make this video telling him that he doesn't want a relationship. Literally, my son, this broke my heart when he said, "I just want you to leave me alone so I can live my life." My son said that to his father, but that's not enough. There's no pity, there's no empathy, there's no, oh, maybe I need to go slow with this kid. He has been through a lot over the last couple of years. No, instead my ex just insists, well, it's Sharon. It's my wife. She's the one who's doing this. She separated me from my children. He takes zero responsibility. What my son wants doesn't matter. My ex is trying to force something with his son because the court cares about the abusive parent more than they care about the abused child, and that's the truth. All the abusive parent has to do is say, I want a relationship with my child, and oh, that's wonderful. And the court pictures, I don't know, this like Lifetime movie where my son and his father are running toward each other in slow motion, and my ex picks up, his son and twirls him around, and they fall to the ground laughing, and I don't know, hearts are exploding on the screen, and balloons are up in the sky, and there's fireworks going off. That's what the court seems to think is going to happen. There's no reality to how it really is. So my ex is using everything he knows. His lawyer probably told him, oh yeah, you'll definitely be able to get something from your son. He doesn't even try with my daughter. Like, he doesn't care about her. It doesn't occur to him that she's, like, if he really cared, she's 18, he could email her as much as he wants. What it was left with when I left the mediation was, now my ex wanted to have contact. He wanted my son's phone number. He hasn't had my son's phone number since December. He does have email, Instagram, that type of thing, Facebook. He could contact him in those ways. He doesn't have his phone number. He wanted his phone number because he wanted to text him daily, is what he said. Now I'm gonna tell you something about my ex's texts. The day I left in December, well, actually not the day I left, the day my ex discovered I left, he started calling my friends, and to one of these friends, he told her that he was so confused about what was happening because we spoke daily. Now, this is what my ex's version of speaking daily is, because in the last year, I'm not even going to say the last year because I've been no contact for 6 months. Let's just say all of last year. So in 2021, The entire year, I probably had a cumulative 5 to 10 minutes of conversation with him the entire year. But according to my friend, we spoke daily because he used to send me these texts. This began probably last summer sometime, where he would just send me a text every morning and every night. Literally, he would say exactly the same thing. Good morning, then good night. Good morning, good night, good morning, good night, every single day. Now, usually I wouldn't respond to these, but I wasn't no contact at the time. I was gearing up to leave, so I needed to have some contact. The reality is when you're leaving an abuser, you can't let them be suspicious. So about once or twice a week, I would reply to these texts and I would say, so this would be a good day. Good morning, thank you, good night. That would be the conversation that he claims we had. I think now, after what he said to my friend, that he believes that we were communicating, that was like a conversation. We weren't speaking on the phone, it was literally a text, but that I think he thinks that. So in his mind, I think he wants to do the same thing with our son, is every day, because that's what he said, he wants to have daily text communication with him. I think that's what he would do. So in the morning, good morning, good night, good morning, good night. That's what he wanted to do. Now, I didn't want my son burdened with that. My son doesn't want anything to do with him. My son has PTSD because of the things his father has done. So I was able to not have that happen, but I couldn't prevent everything happening. And this is what happens. You're in the court system. You look bad. Just like narcissists, they have this way of making you look like the crazy one. You know what I mean? They'll like push and push and push, and then you react, and then I don't know why they're acting like this. See what I'm talking about? They're crazy. This is what's going on with the court system too. The court they have no idea. They don't know this information. They don't know what a narcissist is doing. So when my ex is saying, I just want to have a relationship with my son, oh, I can't communicate with him daily, well, can I at least send an email once a week? It sounds reasonable when you don't know who the person is. So if I am there fighting tooth and nail not to have my ex give him an email, I look like the crazy one. So I was stuck. My lawyer told me, there's nothing you can do. You're going to have to let this happen or you're going to be the one that's in trouble. So here I am, I'm stuck doing this. So it was left at the mediation where my son was going to have to get an email from his father once a week. My ex is hoping that that will lead to phone conversations daily. That will ultimately lead by the end of the summer to a weekend visit. So he thinks that there's a chance in hell that I'm going to put my son on an airplane and send him to New Hampshire to his abuser. But this is what my ex wants to have happen. So I had to agree to this weekly email. That was literally the best I could do for my son. But the reality is that I had promised my son he wouldn't have to have any communication with him. My attorney told me that no court is going to force a 16-year-old to see their father. I translated that into he didn't have to do anything with his father. No, that's not true. So keep this in mind. You, the loving parent, you, the one who's trying to protect your child, has no say. You don't get to decide what's best for your child. Once the court gets their hooks into your child, they are the parent now, and they want this Lifetime movie ending despite all reality. So I had to do this with my son. I had to allow this to happen. Now, my ex, in exchange, he promised that for the first time he was going to pay child support. I've been separated from my ex for 2.5 years. He has not given me 1 penny of child support. What he did do, and this, I think for him, he believes that he is paying child support, or that he always did prior to the last 6 months. He paid the mortgage most months, not every month, most months. He paid the mortgage. I was a stay-at-home mom. The day we split up, I was a stay-at-home mom. I hadn't worked in almost 20 years. He left me high and dry, no money. He hadn't paid any bills. I had 2 kids, house, animals. He didn't care one bit. I had to take cash advances on credit cards. I was scrimping trying to feed my children when this first happened. I had to go back to work, and that's fine. I'm not complaining about having to work, but what I am telling you is that this was thrown on me. Imagine one day you have food in your refrigerator and the next day you're screwed and you get 2 kids to take care of. And my ex didn't care at all. He has a 6-figure job. He wasn't giving me anything. He paid the mortgage that was in his name. I managed to get food for my children. We made it through against all odds. That's why when I was able to leave in December, I know my ex can't believe it still. How did this happen? I had her trapped. That's the way that they think. So back to my son, here he is, and he has to get these weekly emails from his father. So I had to tell my son this, and I'm so tired of having these conversations with my children. All right, guys, listen, I need to talk to you. Your father showed up at the house with a loaded gun last night. Now he's in a mental hospital. All right, guys, I need to call the police because your father's traipsing around the woods in the backyard. All right, guys, I need to call the police. I want you to go up to your room because your father's hurting himself right now. Oh, I didn't have to say at that time they witnessed it. But still, like, this is the type of thing. Like, there's these non-stop conversations. All right, guys, Child Protective Services is coming over because your father lied to the police about me. This is what it is. This is what my son had to go through. Nobody else but me witnessed his fear every single time we were outside and a car drove by. He's looking to make sure it's not his father's car. The panic, me telling my kids we have to move to another state and them agreeing, yes, okay, I'm ready to do this. I freaked out the day before we left to move in with Joe. I freaked out. I had a complete freak out. And my son, who was 15 at the time, he was the one that said to me, Mommy, it's okay. It's all right. We're almost free. We're going to be safe. This same child, I told him, all right, you don't have to have a relationship with your father if that's not what you want. And the court overrode me. They don't care what I say. They don't care what he says. They don't care what anybody says except the abuser. That's all that matters. So my ex was supposed to give me $645 in child support every other week. For the first time, he was supposed to do this, and I was supposed to receive that last week. He, in the meantime, was allowed to have send him one email a week. So this is how that has turned out. My ex did not pay child support, so he still has never supported his children. Now my daughter's not a minor, so she's out of this. But he's never supported his children, the child that he claims he cares so much about. He also has regularly, every single week since this has happened, he has sent more than one email. And the emails are all about me. He's trying to get information about me. The email, he hasn't spoken to his son, has not seen his son, zero, nothing in 2.5 years. Now imagine if this is you. You have no contact with your child, like you're kidnapped and taken out of the country and you're somewhere and you have no contact with your child. And finally, you have contact with your child. Would your first question be, what is your mother doing? What's going on with your mother? What have you done? Those are the emails he sends my son. So this is the type of email he gets him. So my son told me that he got another email yesterday, and this was the longest one yet. It said, you're not answering my questions. What's going on with your mother? I want to know the answer to these questions. My son said to me, first of all, he doesn't call his father dad. He calls him by his first name. So he said to me, so-and-so sent me another email. I'm not going to reply to it. I'm not going to reply to these emails. All he wants to do is get information about you. That's what happens. This is what the court has done. So that's my story on how your abusive ex is going to get their hooks into your child, and be very, very careful. It's been an unendurable nightmare, the things that have happened. Now, keep in mind that my ex has always, my daughter turned 18 last summer. He could have contacted her. Well, he could have contacted either of my children at any time. Until December, he had their phone numbers. But he contacts my son. Like as of yesterday, he sent him his 6th email. He's been sending him 2 emails a week instead of the 1. And then, that's another thing. You look silly this is again like how narcissists get people on their side. Because if I said, well, he's been sending more than 1 email a week. Well, it was just 6 days later, but that's the type of thing narcissists do. I mean, and then it's also like, well, he's asking only questions about me. Well, he's just curious what's going on in his son's life. That type of thing. He always could have contacted his daughter, always. But the thing with him, the reason he completely ignores her, she's not even mentioned, is because he knows that my daughter is on my side. He's not going to get anywhere with her. He believed, or I don't think he does anymore, but he believed that my son might, in his naivete, in his, immaturity, give him information. Oh, well, mommy's doing this, or mom's doing this. He's learning the hard way that that's not true. but this affects my family, and this will affect your family, because if you are trying to leave an abuser, the court isn't going to make it easy. The court is going to pull back all the stops to let the abuser have a relationship with their child. You don't have anything to say. It's a disgrace. The court claims they're family court. They care so much. They love your child. You have to take this parenting class. But the truth is that they have an agenda. They want a happily ever after, despite all reality. That's what you're going to deal with. So be very careful. Do it. Go through the divorce, but understand ahead of time what you're up against so that you can prepare. If I could do things over, I wouldn't have told my children that they don't have to have contact with their father. I would have had to go about this differently. I didn't know. When my lawyer told me that they don't have to see him, I assumed that they didn't have to do anything unless they wanted to. It's not true. Thank you so much for listening to this video. I really hope it helps somebody. I'm trying to document my whole divorce process, because before I was going through this divorce, I had no idea. I had no idea what to expect. I assumed that the court would be on my side because I was abused. Not so. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I will see everybody on Friday's video. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.